Welcome back, and today we're focusing on the race for mayor of Westfield. Secretary Mayor Dan Knapik is here with challenger Mike Roeder. They are in the middle of a Lincoln-Douglas style debate, and Mike Roeder has the next question. Mike?
Let's stay on the Ashley Street School project. It's in litigation. We all know that. The case comes up in state court in March of 2014. The temporary injunction has stopped all activity on this project. My conservative estimate is that $200,000 to $300,000 overall has been spent on this project, thus far with nothing to show for it except a destroyed landmass. To end this costly process for all parties involved, Mr. Mayor, would you consider a referendum vote to decide the fate of this project?
Well, Mike, of course I wouldn't. The fact is we're almost through the National Park Service approval process. And the court case that you're talking about is simply a restraining order to not complete or do any additional work on the site until you get Park Service approval, which we anticipate shortly, and then, according to the judge, go in front of the legislature for a 2/3 vote. As I told you the other night, we have two court cases now, one at a Supreme Judicial Court level and the other one at Housing Court that have, or Land Court, have redefined parks versus playground. Attorney General Quinn in 1973 made an overarching, broad-reaching decision about Article 97 that these two judges have disagreed with. Those are very high cases, and we believe Cross Street has always been a playground and not a park. So, you know, I don't understand why you would put that to a referendum because 10 people don't want it. It doesn't make it a bad project.
Rebuttal.
This is a lot more than 10 people. That was simply a legal jargon under the law. There are many people. In fact, I will say that the majority of people aware of this project, especially in Ward 2, are opposed to it. And I will kill it if I am elected.
Mayor Knapik, your next question.
During the campaign, you've made a number of claims that have proven to be false. Please tell the citizens of Westfield, why have you been untruthful in your claims?
This is the story, the tact you've taken since day one, unfortunately. I stand by every fact that I have laid out in the last 6 months. I'm not going to back down because you're calling me a liar. The fact is, in my brochure, which has gone out to thousands of people, I have made many claims based on data that I have researched very carefully, and I'm comfortable with it. And you can call me a liar today, tomorrow, and I'm sure you will. It doesn't matter. The facts are what they are, and I stand by them.
Rebuttal.
Well, I have your brochure here, and let's talk about a few of these things. Cross Street Playground, you have it at Cross Street School, $36 million. Cost to the taxpayers is $7 million. Police and fire complex on Little River Road, no such thing. Industrial park development, $10 million, no such park. Downtown parking garage, $13 million. Nobody said the city's going to finance that. I don't know where you'd like me to stop. Solar farms, $1.5 million to the local taxpayers. We announced today that we've entered into negotiations with a solar farm vendor that's going to pay us tens of thousands of dollars in the future and take care of the landfill, land cap. So
Time, Mr. Mayor.
I stand by my comments.
Mr. Roeder, your next question.
At a recent public meeting on the Western Avenue reconstruction project, you stated that you would kill the project if that's what the people wanted. At the mayoral debate on Tuesday evening, just a few days ago, on that same subject, you said you were committed to this project no matter what. What is your position on the project today?
Well, I've never said that I would kill the project. I said overwhelmingly you have to take a look at all of the goals of the project. We have a serious problem with water infiltration on that road. The road is going to continue to deteriorate. People want new sidewalks. What we did do, Mike, is we listened to the neighborhoods. We took away the 10-foot wide path that was going to be as part of a sidewalk. We're going to do sidewalks. We're going to install drainage. We're going to extend sewer service up onto the upper reaches. And you can't put good pavement when you don't have drainage, and that's a huge problem. And what I would say to you is you've got to get out to a bigger circle of friends. I hear it from people all the time. They want to see these improvements go on. There's a small cadre of people who can't look beyond the end of their nose, and that's unfortunate.
Rebuttal.
Well, on the Western Avenue project, I live on Western Avenue. I guess I'm a little bit biased, but I live way up. I talked to a lot of people, and it seems to me, based on a fourth public meeting coming up, that there is little consensus and little support for this project. For me, the major expense, $10 million, unaffordable in this day and age.
Mayor Knapik, your next question, please.
Westfield has secured a record amount of state and federal aid for critical projects in the city, like the new runway, Airport Road, and the Elm Street demolitions and environmental cleanups. You state that you will fire political hires. Please tell the citizens of Westfield who these hires are.
I'm not going to mention names. I think that that is a very, very ugly bait. But I will say this: there are people, especially in planning and development, that were absolutely hired because of their political connections to you. And I've already had some conversations with some people like that, and I have told them, at least I'm being honest, if I'm elected, I have a right to bring my own people in. I intend to do exactly that.
Rebuttal.
Well, by any measure, we've had the most productive economic development and community development team this city has ever seen, and it has brought tens of millions of dollars to enhance our city. So obviously, as any mayor, you're right to bring in who you want, but to simply say you're going to say these are political hires, these are the most highly qualified Westfield citizens, and that was important to me, that we don't bring outsiders in to determine our fate. We work with Westfield folks.
Gentlemen, you each have time for one more question, and Mr. Roeder will go first. Mr. Roeder?
You just announced last week the signing of a $28.5 million bond for a number of city projects. What projects specifically are included in this bond?
Well, included in that is the continuation of the replacement of the ventilation system at Westfield High School, continued work at Vocational Technical School, including a gym floor, a new auditorium or stage like you were on the other night that got ruined by roof leaks, including additional ventilation in the lower campus, and the completion of City Hall, among other school projects. And we also secured, as part of that, new roofs at Munger Hill and Paper Mill School.
Rebuttal.
At $28.5 million added on to current debt, and then including the $7 million I will support for the senior center, that puts us beyond the tipping point in terms of principal and interest payments that we will be obligated to make to various lenders over the next 15, 18, 19, 20 years. Unacceptable.
Mayor Knapik, your last question, please.
You state that you will not raise taxes if you're elected. The growth in required expenses increases in the budget annually by about $2 million. With new contracts recently settled and 85% of the budget in salaries, what's your plan to balance the budget?
My plan to balance the budget is to go after the expense side. And I think the tax news that's going to be released shortly for this year is going to upset a lot of people. That's a reality. I understand that. The expense side needs to be looked at. I'm going to do that line by line by line by line, and we will make enough cuts to prevent a tax increase in FY 215.
Rebuttal.
Well, that's a pretty bold statement to make when you don't even know what your state aid's going to be. And you've talked about the cuts you're going to make. Overtime, out-of-state travel. You know, we don't do a lot of out-of-state travel in municipal government. And overtime, I've been clamping on that for the last 4 years. So if you think that's going to be the secret to balancing the budget next year, I would simply take my approach, which is we look at the budget every year at the end of the year, and I've offered 1.5%, 2% and 2.5% in this upcoming fall tax rate setting. So I'm true to my word. I look at the numbers as I know them at that moment in time, and I'll make a decision with council leadership as to what we're going to do.
All right, gentlemen, time now for closing statements. Each candidate will have exactly 1 minute to make his closing statement, and Mike Roeder will go first. Mike?
This has been a culmination of 6 months of hard work. I've enjoyed it. It's been a great experience. I've met a lot of great people. I've met a lot of people who are upset with the ever-increasing property taxes. There is more coming our way this year. And what I want to do is simply say this. I urge every single voter in the city of Westfield to go and vote on November 5th. I'm looking for a record turnout. If I win, that's fine. I'm going to work as hard as I can. And if Mr. Knapik is reelected, I can live with that too, believe me. This is the political process that I love.
Mayor Knapik, your closing statement, please.
Thank you, Rich. You have a very important choice to make on November 5th. You can continue the great progress our city's made, investment in our children and in our future. We have now presently more money in our rainy day account than when I started, the highest bond rating. Mr. Roeder talks about this unbelievable debt burden. Well, I gave him all the numbers here today, and he couldn't be further from the truth. And actually, I'll leave him with this thought. Moody's Investors, which rates these things, has indicated to us just recently as last week, 87% of all our bond debt will be off the books over the next 10 years. So what he doesn't appreciate is every year you have an enormous amount of debt shed, including last year at $7.5 million. I appreciate your vote. we've moved this city forward, and there's a lot more good things to come over the next 2 years. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, that concludes our look at the race for the mayor of Westfield. Thanks to Mayor Dan Knapik and challenger Mike Roeder for joining us this afternoon. Don't forget, Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th, and if you missed any of today's debate, you can see it again on wwlp.com. Tomorrow, it's the candidates for mayor of East Hampton. I'm Rich Teddemer. Have a good day, and don't forget to join us back here for 22 News starting at 5. And we also have all the news and weather updates 24/7 online at wwlp.com. Have a good day.